Hello everyone, we're back for another episode of our collage paper, and today we're going to do some stamping on tissue paper. And I have a few little tricks and the reasons why I do it. But first I'm going to tell you what we're going to use, and I have a multitude of different kinds of stamps here. Background stamps, regular stamps, just different things. This was one of my favorites. This is another background stamp. I have letters. I have numbers. I have my archival ink, and I have it in both the larger ink pad and the smaller ink pad, and I have these both out today because some of the way we'll start stamping with some of the this little one is sometimes better, believe it or not, to ink some great big stamps. So I'm going to have them both out. Let's get some of these off to the side, maybe down here. Yep. Okay, I have tissue paper, and this is lots of people like to stamp on the background, the back pieces of napkins. I don't like that. I really don't like it when it comes to putting it down on my collage. I prefer tissue paper. If you like the backs of napkins, please go ahead and use them. I just like tissue paper, and I usually get it at the dollar store. It very often has two sides, and I don't know that you can see that. Well, a little bit. That's shiny, and that's not. Yeah, you can see it. Yay! Okay, I usually stamp on the non-shiny side, unless I grab it wrong. I also have, underneath my tissue paper, I have a little pile of, this happens to be cardstock. Copy paper would work just fine. This is just what I grabbed. The deal is you do not want to stamp directly on a surface that is smooth and is not going to absorb the ink. You need something behind your tissue paper to absorb the ink. Now, I like to have two kinds of different stamp papers sort of ready to go. One is, then that's what we're going to do first. One is to have images stamped on the paper, just images. And since I love using different images in my collage, and that one's just not going to ink real well. And if you have trouble stamping, it doesn't hurt to have a softer mat underneath you. But for collage paper, I don't usually worry about it because I'm not concerned with the image being perfect. And I will stamp out, half a dozen images like so. That's a little close together. You want enough room that you can take them apart. And I just stamp off on my paper. I will just continue to make all kinds of stamped images on this paper that I can come back to, take my water brush and take them apart. This is one of those stamps that forever does not stamp exactly right, and I have found that if you take your little pad and rub over it instead of trying to push it into the ink pad, it for some reason comes out better. And it's not going to today. Just one of those things. This particular one, I should have grabbed a different one. And that's okay because I'll still use that. Now, why don't I just stamp on my collage? Why would I not just stamp directly on my collage? Well, when I collage, it tends to get uneven, and therefore, when I want to get an image down, I have all this texture under there that doesn't always come off correctly. So if I have it stamped on the tissue paper, then what happens is I can put it down with my collage medium. And if you're not familiar with my collage medium, I will put a link right up there. And I have to write myself a note. That type of medium that I use is a mixture. And because of that, it will cover and not be sticky. And I particularly like it that way. Now, these little number stamps, they're not so important to have stamped out on something, but because they will stamp on a more uneven surface because they're small. Little stamps can be used sometimes when the bigger ones won't lay flat. Okay, so that is one way I use them. I just take my water brush. Oh, of course, this water brush doesn't have water. And I can tear out a piece. And I'll be able to collage it down and with my collage medium. So I really like just going through and covering a whole piece of tissue with images. Now I do try to get myself enough room. This one is a little close together. I can get down there. I will get down there, but I like to be able to get it down with my water brush. And the reason for that is it leaves rough edges which don't show up as much when you collage them down, because sometimes edges are unnatural if you have to cut them out. Okay, so the next kind of collage paper is kind of like a takeoff of Tim Holtz paper. Now, that didn't come through very much, but sometimes, and it is there, you can't really see it, but you need that blotter paper underneath. It really is important to have that other paper underneath there. So sometimes I like to do like a whole sheet where I'm going to tear it out, and it's very much like a Tim Holtz collage paper. And this is going to take a little while, so I'm just going to kind of work through it, and I'll talk to you about it after we're done. Okay, guys, I know this is a, I'm going to try to speed that up a little bit, and I know this is a little bit, more longer video than normal, but that's okay. Frankly, this is almost not done to me. I think it could use a bunch more images on it, but it's also okay for right now, and I don't want to keep going and overdo it. That's one of the things I think you need to think about. There's going to be other layers underneath this piece of tissue paper, so it doesn't have to be totally covered up. And this is the kind of tissue that you can just cut pieces out of, but to have it done with your stamps works perfectly. Now, one of the things I want to tell you is this stamp had never been used. I've had it, okay, so it is a stamp from 2002, and I had never inked it. However, I love it. I think it's a beautiful stamp. One of the reasons I inked it with the little one, and that's one of the reasons why I got the little one out, is because I did not want this hard straight edge. I wanted it to start in the end. It was supposed to be a background. Now, as soon as we finish here, this is coming off this wood block. I absolutely detest having it on this wood block. When you have a piece that is like this, you can make it not have that rough straight edge, and you can put it just about anywhere. When it's on this block and you're trying to ink it and it doesn't stamp well because it's not picking up the ink and it's not laying down real well. And I really think I will enjoy this stamp a lot if I take it off of there. That's one of the things that I have a lot of supplies that I don't use, and that's not a good thing. I should be using them, and I love this piece of tissue paper, and I will definitely be using it in my art journal. But if I'm going to make some more, I want to take this off of there. And the other thing about doing just single images on tissue, like I said, when you get into your art journal pages and your collages, for whatever reason, even if you're making a collage on a card front or whatever, a lot of times there is texture where your papers have been laid together. And trying to stamp on top of that texture, it never comes out perfect. And sometimes that's very irritating to me. If I really want a perfect image, and I usually work at this a little harder, frankly, I can get perfect images on tissue paper. Just make sure you have a blotter paper underneath. Also, on this one, I stamped off the edge because I was trying to show you that it doesn't always have to be a full image. I hope that explains why I do this and how I do it. Oh, I didn't think. There's two kinds of, well, there's probably more than two kinds of permanent ink. I'm using today this archival ink, but in the past, I have truly used more of the Stays On ink. Either one works beautifully for this process. I just happened to have both of these and they were out, and so I used those today. But what you have to have is something permanent. You do not want a water-based ink. The Distress inks are water-based dye ink, and what will happen when you go over them with collage medium is they might run. I won't tell you they will always run, but they might run. So you want to make sure you have a permanent ink. And either this Ranger Archival ink or the Stays On ink are both permanent. I think that's it. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. I hope this has given you some more ideas for collage paper. And as I said, I know this is a little bit longer video in this series, but sometimes it takes me a little longer to explain what I'm trying to say. So what I'm going to tell you now is go have fun. Make some art. Bye-bye.